Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Burkeen.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to Sports Scouting Report with Lee Burkeen. We've got a really good show today. We've got head coach Andy Robinson from St. Frederick's in Monroe, Louisiana, a really great private school there in Monroe, and we're going to talk to Andy. We've got college notes, really sports notes around the country now that we have sports again. And, it's really good to have sports come back, and hopefully high school football will be back soon as well, and college football behind MLB, and I think the NBA is going to start up. But, Coach Andy Robinson, thanks for joining us from St. Frederick's. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lee.
You know, Andy, I think about 2 years ago I was in Florida, and I don't get to Destin, Florida very much. You know, I feel like when I do, it's like once every 10 years, I guess, and because of work, you know, and we're out eating, and I think I'm with Coach Nagel. You know Coach Nagel, and a bunch of coaches with me, and I said, look, there's Andy Robinson over there. So you happen to be in Destin at the same time, and I can't remember. It was sometime in June, I think, but a couple of years ago, and it was good to see you. And, it's just a small world, that coaching world, when you see Johnny, you knew him, and because he was at McNeese and Northwestern, and you played at Louisiana Tech, and you coached at Tech and under Bicknell, and the coaching profession's really a small one, right, Coach? I mean, just everybody knows everybody.
It is, and obviously in the college level, you get a chance to meet so many people. Petey Payroll was on that staff when I was as a player and as a coach at Louisiana Tech, and I actually worked with the GA under Petey for a couple of years. And him and Coach Nagel were pretty good friends and still are. And, he's a name that rings throughout the state and did a great job coaching at several different colleges and recruiting the state of Louisiana. And, I was fortunate enough to jump in the car with him a few times and make some trips down to Patterson and East St. John and some of those great high schools down there, and just got to meet so many people. So, yeah, it was a great experience. The more you get to travel, and then obviously being a head coach, there's certain times a year that we get together as coaches and athletic directors. So it's always good to be around your friends and colleagues, and everybody kind of let their guard down and have some really good, real conversations and make some connections with guys all over the state.
We're listening to Coach Andy Robinson, the head coach at St. Frederick's, as they call St. Fred's in Monroe, Louisiana, private school, really good school. Coach Andy Robinson was an offensive coordinator at Ruston. He was at Kilgore Junior College with Mike Valerie, big name in the Monroe area, and then also Ouachita with Coach John Carr. I know John's been a few places, Southern Miss, and has coached a good guy. His dad, was a very good football player as well. Roger Carr with the Colts, man. How can we forget about him? And Andy, what you've done the whole circuit, North Louisiana, and now you're at St. Fred's in your third year. What's it feel like to be? This was your first head coaching job. What did it feel like when you became a head coach finally in high school football? What was it like to be the head guy?
Well, it was exciting growing up in a coaching family, and your dad being a high school coach for almost 30 years, and seeing him get an opportunity to be a head coach, and the things he was able to do with the program at Delhi High School and win some playoff games and beat some people like Parkview Baptist and Homer, which were really good teams in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was always a dream of mine, but it's a process. And, I got in at a very young age at the college level and had some things happen in coaching that if you're in coaching, they're going to happen. And, had to grow up fast, so to speak, and learn that there are some things that are connected to business. And that's the game at that level. Was fortunate enough, like you said, to get over in East Texas and coach over there with Mike Valerie for a little while, where football is really important, and being around some great school systems and see how things are run. And then John Carr gave me the opportunity to come back to Ouachita and had some really good teams there. And then obviously working with Jared Ball, who I think is one of the best head coaches in the state of Louisiana, as far as the things that he's able to do and his organizational skills and his motivation. And he's old school mentality and philosophy, and then having my opportunity to jump in at St. Fred's and become a head coach with some really good assistant coaches on the staff Believe me, I'm very fortunate to still have some of those guys there. Billy Bell is our defensive coordinator. He's going into his 49th, I believe, football season.
Wow.
He's coached at West Monroe. He's coached at Longview, Texas.
Coach, y'all need to get him a huge cake, man, pretty soon.
Right. I know it. I'm trying to get him to make 50 because he's a heck of a coach. He runs our strength and conditioning program. He was a guy that was one of the foundation guys at West Monroe when they started that program. He's a Spring Hill, coached at Spring Hill for Coach Fair a long time. And then I'm fortunate enough to have another guy, Scott Lee, that's there with us. Scott was a head coach at Mangum and at Caldwell. He's an Oak Grove guy that grew up there and played there and then worked there with Coach Dalrymple and won state championships there. So, really having a chance as a first-year coach to come in there with guys that didn't have an agenda to be the head coach, but also had experience that I could communicate my ideas and my philosophy with. And, the first year was a blur. I'm not going to lie. We had a lot of success, won a playoff game, got beat in the quarterfinals against a very good Vermilion Catholic team when Coach Fuquay was head coach there, who actually coached me in college when I got to Tech in '98. But they were a good football team. So, it ended in a bad way, but we had some great things that first year. We beat Mangum for the first time in program history. We beat OCS for the first time since 1995. We hosted a first round playoff game and won, which put us in the quarterfinals in the Division IV bracket. So it was just a blur. It was exciting. It was something that I felt like I'd put a lot of time and thought into.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously there's things that came up, and that's high school football, and especially at our level. There's going to be things you can't control. So that's probably what I learned the most from that first year is try to slow down, take things in, and then make sure we're controlling what we control. And last year, had a pretty decent year. Had a tough draw in the playoffs. We had to go to Calvary the first round. And they were a really good football team. And then OCS ended up knocking them out the next week. But, we play in a really good district. It's an 18 district. I think it's probably one of the bigger ones in the state of Louisiana. We had 2 state champions come out of our district this year with Oak Grove and OCS. I don't know if anybody's done that before or has that. So it's super competitive. And then you throw in the athletic teams like Dale High. Cedar Creek's a power football team. Tensall's a different kind of football team because they're athletic. Yeah. They're going to give you a lot of different looks. Cicely Island runs the box with Coach Mommy down there. And then you have Delta Charter mixed in there. So it's a really different dynamic week to week as you prepare for each team.
Yeah.
But, we just try to get our guys ready to go and try to stay healthy. And, we look forward to the challenges. But I'm enjoying it every week, man. It's been fun. It's been really fun.
Coach, I got a question for you. I know you played for me in Catholic in 18 in the playoffs, but I'm really high on the quarterback, Leger. When you faced him, he was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
But this kid, is a typical Louisiana quarterback. If he's not ranked nationally, I don't buy into that always. But you got a chance to see this kid. He's a 4-year starter, but he's actually developed into one of the best quarterbacks in the state, Leger from Vermilion.
Yeah, but, the year we played him, I don't know if it was his brother or cousin, I think it was one of the receivers too. I think he ended up going to UL to maybe play receiver or something, Leger. But just when I think about that kid, it just thinks composure is what jumps off the page at me. Had a lot of poise in the pocket. That was a sophomore. I haven't seen him face-to-face in 2 years. I'm sure he's continued to develop. I thought he had a special talent and great leadership qualities too. And that's the thing. In high school, you tend to lean on your seniors for leadership qualities, but sometimes you can get special guys in there, and they don't have to be a senior to lead a football team. And, that's something that team kind of rallied around that kid. They had some explosive playmakers with him, and Coach Fu did a really good job with him. But I think he's going to be, a really good football player. And I imagine he is one of the top guys in the state this year.
Yeah, Coach, in the small schools for Class 1A or 2A, he's the best quarterback in the state the last 5 years to me. He's got a strong arm now. He's bigger and everything, but definitely someone you might not want to face this year. But look.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this, and I don't want to interrupt you, Lee, but I can tell you, I don't know how much you know about Hunter Herring up here at Washita Christian.
Hunter's good. Hunter's really good.
And Hunter's not as polished, I don't believe, as Leger. And I take a lot of time to really kind of study these quarterbacks. But I can tell you what, Hunter's played the position 1 year. And you're talking about a kid that was playing defensive end and wide receiver and tight end as a sophomore,
right,
and went to quarterback and kind of exploded onto the scene. last year. And I thought when we played him 2 years ago, I thought he was one of the best players on the football field. And didn't really know that they had moved him. John Simon, a friend of mine, coaches up in Memphis, he called me last summer and said, "Hey, who was this quarterback at OCS?" And I said, "Man, who are you talking about?" And he said, "It's a big, tall kid, about a 6'3", blonde-headed kid." I said, "Oh, no, they moved there. Quarterback." And he's a guy that continues to develop, and I don't think you can mention, top quarterbacks. And he's kind of under the radar because a lot of people that don't really know about him up here. But I'm going to tell you, I've seen the kid. Physically, he's off the charts. I think mentally, he's off the charts. And I think his upside, his best football is ahead of him.
Yeah.
So, just a side note, when you do mention those guys, he's definitely a diamond in the rough that you got to throw out there.
Yeah, well, he's in the magazine, ranked high for the preview magazine that's coming out in August. I saw him as a sophomore as a tight end, and I was like, whoa, it's a big old boy that can move. And like you said, he's still learning.
Super athletic. And it reminds me of guys, and we've been fortunate enough, we played the Rumble team when the Williams kid was there at Ouachita. He came from behind and beat us in the quarterfinals of playoffs. We had Levi Lewis on the schedule for 2 years. We went to Scotlandville and played that kid. And those are kids that just jump out at me that we've had a chance to go against where people are just like, I don't really know. And you can just see a little quality about them where you think, they're really good football players. And if they get the chance to fit the right system, they're going to have a chance to be really productive.
The thing with Hunter, Coach, that I see in evaluating is that if he outgrows quarterback, because he's so long and lean for a big guy, and he could be a tight end. He can end up being a 6'4", 250 tight end if he wants to be, if it doesn't work out.
And I believe he's athletic enough, Lee, to do that. I think you can't go wrong with taking a athletic kid like that with the right mentality. And I think he's got a lot. He checks a lot of boxes.
Oh yeah,
And I think Lafayette and Coach Napier, I think they took a commitment on him. I know Matt Kubik at Southern Miss was on him pretty hard. But I think he's going to get more as we play and things fall into place for him. Like I said, his best football, I think, is ahead of him, no doubt on that.
Just like the two kids that signed with ULM last year from the Monroe area, from Sterlington and West Monroe. I mean, recruiting's crazy. ULM probably didn't need him as much as maybe UL did, and UL's probably getting better players overall in recruiting the last 3 or 4 years. So you know how recruiting is. It's just a weird of need, who needs what at that time. Levi's going to be a senior from Scotlandville. But, Coach, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about your guy, Bo Bennett, your top linebacker, tight end, and one of the top players in the state for the class of 2021. We're listening to Coach Andy Robinson, the head coach at St. Frederick's in Monroe, St. Fred's High School. We'll be right back.
Hello, Sports Scouting Report fans. Like what you hear? Well, you're going to love our content at LAFootballMagazine.com. This week, check out Recruit Spotlight on Landry Walker quarterback Justin Hudson, who has committed to the Tennessee State Tigers this past week. Also, make sure to check out our podcast and pre-order your North or South Magazine edition for this upcoming season. All that and more on LAFootballMagazine.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Sports Scouting Report with Lee Burkeen. We have head coach Andy Robinson joined us with St. Frederick's High School in Monroe, one of the top, I'm still going to say top young coaches in the state, Coach. You haven't hit that 50 years yet. But
we're trying to push that back.
But you've got one of the, diamond in the roughs, whatever you want to call them, sleeper recruits, don't get into the stars. Mm-hmm. I saw Bo play for you. I saw your team play. And Bo Bennett can move. He can move. He can react. And like they say in college ball, see ball, go after it, get there. I don't care what he runs. I know he runs a good 40 time, but he actually looks faster in pads than he does probably running the 40. But he's instinctive. Obviously, I think he'll be a great linebacker. But then again, he's a tight end for you. He's a good tight end. He's a D1 guy. Goes to the right school, could be a 3-4 year starter, right? D1.
Yeah, I think Bo's one of those guys. Definitely the pandemic hitting and the camp circuit and all the things that were taken away from these kids this summer. He's probably one of those guys that's going to be affected the most by that, just because the perception of the level that we play at a 1A school. We are in Monroe, and everybody comes through Monroe recruiting, but the reality is that the coaches like to get their kids in front of the entire staff now, and that's a big deal. And to get them on campus, they love for them to come on campus because they think, that insinuates their interest towards that school. So that's why the one-day camps and all those things have grown to what they are. And unfortunately, Bo didn't have a chance to do that. He is a 6'3", 235-pound kid. He's asked to do a lot for us. I would probably project him as an outside linebacker. I think he'd be great in a 50-type scheme that could play in the boundary because he can line up on a tight end and he can drop and play some coverage for you. And he's just a natural football player. He comes from a football family. We move him around a ton. I mean, he played receiver. He played tight end. We put him in the backfield a little bit. Defensively, he pretty much played defensive end and outside backer for us. Great pass rusher, really explosive, and just a good football player. He loves everything about football. He loves working out. He loves practicing. He loves being a teammate, continuously trying to study and learn to make himself better, and just a real enjoyable kid to be around and coach. And, you get those kids, and it makes it fun. And, to have him going into senior year, he's played a lot of football for St. Frederick. Got his brother there with him last year, Gordon. He was kind of in the shadows of him a little bit the last couple of years, but Gordon's gone now. So we're expecting big things from him. This is his team, and he's going to have to step up and stay healthy and play well for us this year.
Yeah, and Coach, I tell parents all the time, this is my 29th year in it, and I talk to a lot of colleges. Yeah. I go to 100 games a year. I'm probably the only crazy guy that's not working for a college that actually goes to 100 games a year, high school football, and then watches the other teams on film, and not highlight tapes, but full game film. But watching film in pads, that's still what it's about. Mm-hmm. That's where you make your decision. Can this kid play at this level, this position, in full pads? Right? It's still,
right.
Camps, it's good to meet them at camps. It's good to meet them in shorts and helmet, time them,
right.
All that. But at the end of the day, you were a recruiting coordinator at the age of 25 at Louisiana Tech, and at that time, one of the youngest recruiting coordinators when you were with Bicknell. But, it's still watch the film, right? That's what I've done my whole life is you watch the film and see who can actually play football besides run good 40 times, right?
No question. I think that at the end of the day, you're looking for a football player. So you got to have guys that are passionate about the game. Football is such a demanding game physically and mentally that if you're not passionate about it, it's not going to go well for you.
Right.
But you do have to watch the tape, and if a guy's not producing, then you're not going to get the guy that you're looking at on the outside, so to speak. The tape is going to allow you to dig in and see what those guys are doing in game situations. And then if you come out and watch them play, and those guys are allowed to do that, they're very limited when they get out to games. But, our district's been fortunate. We've had some really good college prospects and players. Oak Grove is a game that comes to mind. Last year we had 7 coaches at that game watching that game. And with Keenan and other kid that went to Tech up there, they also got a Division I tight end this year up there.
He's really good.
And so those guys had a chance to really put eyes on them, and it kind of opened their eyes, so to speak. And, they walk out of there calling you back saying, hey, we got to give them to campus.
Yeah, they also have Reed Milligan, I think one of the top fullbacks in the state, number 44.
Yeah.
And they're running,
Ron
Ron Creighton, their running back coming back, is incredible and not ranked high. But, hey, they don't have that SEC D-line anymore. Them two guys were crazy big and athletic. Huh, Coach?
Well, this level, it's really hard to match up.
Yeah, I'll watch both of those D linemen. Now, Bert Hale, as you know, was at like Delta Charter or one of those Delta schools and transferred over there. And then the other one had been there for a long time. I watched both of those kids since they were freshmen. I watched Bert when he was at the other school. But as you know, both 6'3", 6'4", 315, 320 each, could run. It looked like 4'9". Now, I probably ran 5'1", but still 5'1", 315, two of them on one team and 1A. Come on, man. Whoa.
Yeah, it was tough. They were a good football team, and we played them. We played them tough this year. I think we were a one-score game late in the fourth quarter. But, Coach Gregory does a good job with those guys. And they're going to continue to have guys. Josh Bradley is a guy, played over at LSU. Yeah, and his son's coming. He's going to be a freshman quarterback. You haven't seen him yet. He's going to be a 6'2", 6'6" guy that he can throw it. And, he's another guy that's kind of next in line that's coming up through their system. And they got some guys coming. They got a great group of freshmen that Ryan's really excited about. And so, in the area, there's always guys here. And that's what I tell people. If you can get a top 4 or 5 guy from the Northeast Louisiana area, they're usually a pretty good football player.
Yeah.
And the top guy usually is going to have a lot of success. And it really doesn't matter if it's Rashad Lawrence, if it's Cam Robinson, or if it's a small guy like Devontae Turpin. If they're a really good football player that's grown up in this area and they're pretty competitive and they've had success, the trend normally follows them to the next level. John Diar's. You can just go each year and say, who is the best guy? And to me this year, when you talk about it, I think Hunter Herring may be the best guy. I think Bull's probably second, the running back over at Ruston. I coached Bull. I had an opportunity to be around him as a freshman.
He's good.
And he's super talented and a great kid. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the kid. And Coach Ball's going to put him in every opportunity to have success.
Hey, Coach.
But that's two really good football players.
They have a 280-pound tight end, 6'3", that's not bad either, that you know.
Yeah. Oh no. He's got.
I mean, they got that other fullback that's going to be a 222 kid. That's maybe the best fullback in the country. And then
his fullback's a hammer for sure.
And then Rayville might have the best cornerback in the state, and that's saying a lot. I've seen all those New Orleans teams last year, and I watched every team last year in the state. But this Nash kid at Rayville, Coach, he's
good.
He's a real deal, And again, he's not ranked, at all,
Wow. Yeah, I know they get, and like I said, there's when we were talking about just football players and kind of going back to what we were talking about, and I think Bo falls under that category. You turn the tape on or you come watch a game, you're going to see a football player.
Yeah.
And that's important at the end of the day. They have to obviously check some boxes for those guys to fit what they're looking for. But if you can load up with 25 guys and walk away and say, we got 25 football players, I think you're putting yourself in position to have great success.
I'll say this, Coach. Let me use this analogy. You could parachute into Louisiana and not know where you're going to land. You can sign 25 players.
Probably in certain areas. Yeah. And I know the knock for a long time was on Sinlai, but look what Thomas is doing there. Yeah. And the type of guys he's putting out. And if you go back to Winsfield, Jonesboro, Hodge, and throw them in that area too, I mean, there's been guys there all along. But I know there's a lot more coming out. But I agree with you. It's just a talented area. It's great to coach and be a football coach in this area where football is important. I don't know how many calls and texts we get weekly wanting to know what's the latest update on what we're doing. And that's good. I told my wife the other day, and I said it's really important. It's a great job to have in this area. I obviously got a great job to work at a great school. Division IV is a tough district or a tough division once you move on. And, we just kind of know we have a lot of work to do, and it's going to take a little time to get there.
Coach, I also want to mention, and look, I've been in this for, like I said, 28, 29 years. You can't mention every school and kid in a 25-minute interview, in the state or even locally, but when we finish this interview, somebody's going to be mad we didn't mention their player, but we can't get everybody in. But I will say, Lane Blue's another one at Neville that you saw at Cedar Creek, big-time player.
Glad he's gone.
Yeah, fullback, linebacker, 6'2", 230, very talented. And then you got Ben Merchant at Cedar Creek, big O lineman, could play some D1 ball. And I'm just throwing guys off the top of my head. Mangum's got Chase Underwood, not a bad O lineman, and T. Gayden. T. Gayden will probably go D1, and Chase will probably go D1. They got 3 other ones at Mangum in that senior group. And
Mangum, Coach Wilkes is doing a really good job. They're going to be a talented football team. I think the next 2 years, he's probably a quarterfinal, semifinal run, if not better team with what he's got coming back. And unfortunately, we got to play him, but he's got some good football players, no doubt.
And we got the punter at West Monroe. I called him Thunderfoot. He's one of the best punters I've ever seen in the state, ever. He's phenomenal.
And the thing, and I know some of those guys, and I talked to some of their coaches, but they say he may be the best all-around athlete on their football team.
Yeah.
They said he may be the fastest kid. He plays defense and plays linebacker. They said he could probably line up and play quarterback if he really wanted to. Just super athletic kid, and I've met the kid, seems really nice and has his head on his shoulders, and he looks physically. He's one of those kids that you see and they kind of walk and bounce different.
Yeah.
But that's what he looks like. So he's special. No doubt he's special.
6'5", about 220, but muscle built, not lean, but muscle. And when it comes off his foot, you lose the ball in the sky. That's when you know he's a great punter. That hang time is eat a sandwich and then the ball is going to come down, right? After you eat your sandwich, it's going to fall on the ground. But
no doubt. That's a luxury.
I remember when they had Borcavius Mingo, and I went and saw Mingo come out from the track team, Coach, and the late Coach Don Schall says, I got me a great athlete. I said, who, Coach? He said, he didn't even play it down yet. And I was sitting down with Don, and this is the spring, going into fall, and, Mingo was a sophomore, and I said, who is he? He said, let's go outside. The bell rang. He said, this kid walking with the books out, he's 6'4", 185. I said, that kid? He said, yeah, he's a track guy. He said, I talked him into coming out to the football team, and we're going to put some weight on him. And he said, he can run. He said, he runs the relays, runs a 4.4 and a 40. He said, he's phenomenal. High jump, 6'8". And I'm like, what's his name? He said, Borcavius Mingo. And then his first year, Coach, I remember watching Mingo play free safety. People forget that. He started free safety and did great, right? He was lean. Gained a little weight junior year, moved him up to linebacker. Senior year, moved him up to buck. They didn't even call it buck linebacker back then, right, Coach? But they moved him up to buck, and he ended up being, 6'5", 230 at LSU and being the best pass rusher in the SEC for 2 years. And still and making a lot of money playing football on Sundays, So it's worked out well for him. Don always had an eye for those kind of guys, didn't he? Oh, man. Yeah. And at first I was like, Coach, track guy? Because you know this. Most track guys don't become football players. Most of them. Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah, sometimes that's a hard transition for them. But they got a pretty good culture over there to get you to buy into what's going on once they can get you in the building. So I'm sure once they did that, obviously, like I said, it worked out well. Probably the best decision he's ever made. So.
Well, Coach, thank you for taking the time while you're moving, by the way, the job that none of us men want to do, right? Put stuff in boxes, right?
Oh, man.
Going to probably one of these stores to buy these boxes and crates, and it's the job that you never want to do, but I caught you in the middle of that. Thank you for taking the time to do this while you're doing that.
Man, I appreciate it, and, I appreciate everything you do for high school sports, and I know you've been doing it a long time, Lee, and you can turn YouTube on, and I've watched some of your old shows, and, so it's been a pleasure to visit with you, and we're just thankful that for everything you do for high school athletics, thankful that you always reach out to North Louisiana and include us and the things you're doing, and, some of that gets lost from time to time, and people want to point fingers and North versus South, and I've never got that from you. It's strictly about the state and promoting kids and promoting coaches and programs. And, just really thankful and like I said, just really fortunate that we're in a great state with great tradition, great football players, great coaches. Just there's so many good things that are going on right now with all the negativity and things that we have that, we really got to be appreciative. And I want to make sure that I let you know I've always respected what you've done, and I'm appreciative for what you do for high school sports.
Thank you, Coach. And I want to make one thing clear. If Hunter Herring's parents hear this show, he's ranked high in my preview magazine. We just wrote the book. So,
I tell you, you do a preseason with a postseason one. I guarantee you, he'll still be climbing when it's over with. So he's a good one. And I know our people get a little frustrated at me about promoting those guys, but Coach Fitzhugh and my relationship's good. It's always been strong. And man, I'm gonna try to call a spade when I see it.
Yeah.
And he's one of those ones that in this area, true quarterback type guys. I think he's one of the best ones to come out of here in a while. So I'm anxious to see what Coach Sale and Coach Napier do with him.
You beat me to him, Coach. You got him out so fast I couldn't mention him. That's good.
well, I've done that with a lot of people. They start talking quarterbacks in this area this year. I'm like, man, you can't do it without mentioning this guy.
Hey.
And a lot of them, they don't really know much about him, but they can go research it. They'll find out.
Hey,
So
that's the offensive coordinator in you, though, Coach. Your background coaching them quarterbacks. But, Coach, again,
that's right.
Thank you, Coach Andy Robinson of St. Frederick's and Monroe, and good luck to you this year, Coach. We'll see you soon, okay, Coach?
Yes, sir. God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you. You were listening to Coach Andy Robinson from St. Frederick's High School in Monroe. We'll be right back.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brakeen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brakeen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. Lee Brakeen here with the Sports Scouting Report. I want to talk about a couple of big-time transfers this week, kids from Louisiana, and they're from the same high school, St. Augustine High School out of New Orleans. One is Jamal Pettigrew, who's transferring from LSU, a tight end. I had a chance to see Jamal play in high school at St. Aug. Actually, I saw him against Thibodeau his senior year and also his junior year and sophomore year. Really wasn't a big receiver in high school, really didn't catch a lot of balls. A guy that's, 6'6", 260, can run really well, just hasn't put it together. Has never shown the great hands, has never shown the playmaking ability, or it just hasn't really beaten all the guys out, right? And so when Moss came in, he beat, Pettigrew out, and then Pettigrew was going to get beat out this year by Eric Gilbert, freshman from Georgia. And the Storts kid from New York, from the LSU baseball team, I think is going to be a great tight end for LSU. And then Aaron Moffitt, and the Colorado tight end signee Cole Taylor. So I think it's a good move for Jamal. I don't think he would have played as much. He wasn't a big-time blocker or receiver, so he wasn't really strong in either area to help LSU. He was a guy that stuck in and missed his junior year with an injury and came back, and I got a lot of respect for him for that, about, staying 4 years, got his degree, and we'll see where he ends up. And there's his former teammate from St. Aug. If our listeners remember this, 4 years ago, when Ed Orgeron got the LSU job and he was recruiting D tackles, he lost out on a kid by the name of DeAndre Christmas from St. Augustine. He's 6'3", 300 pounds, 310 nose guard D tackle. And Ed recruited DeAndre very hard. And DeAndre ended up signing with Texas, the Longhorns. And I remember a lot of people were upset. It was a kind of one of those late players that LSU lost. And I thought DeAndre was a great high school player. Big-time high school player, I thought. Had a lot of injuries at Texas. Really didn't play a lot against LSU last year. Texas recruits D tackles very well, just like LSU. And DeAndre is going to transfer to Florida Atlantic for his senior year. And I think he's still got pro talent. He just, he's been hurt at Texas, and then he dropped on the depth chart. I mean, he runs about a 5'2", 40. He's 6'3", about 320 now. Florida Atlantic beat Miami last year, if you remember. First time in the school history that they beat the University of Miami, the U. And they finished 6-7 in 2019. Man, isn't that embarrassing for Miami, though, to lose to Florida Atlantic, a 6-7 team. That's when things are not good. They lost to Louisiana Tech, who had a good team, and the bowl game shut them out. Tech shut them out in the bowl game, in the Independence Bowl. But Florida Atlantic, it's going to be interesting to see if Jamal Pettigrew maybe follows DeAndre Christmas to Florida Atlantic. That might be a possibility. We'll see what happens. Be sure to get your magazine, your preview magazine. You can order it on lafootballmagazine.com, our website. Get your South copy or North copy. You can pre-order. We don't have it out yet. It will be coming out in early September. Because of the coronavirus, everything's been pushed back. The season's been pushed back. LSU season is going to be September 26th. Which I'm very happy. They've announced a 10-game SEC schedule. And I'm interested to see who LSU's two new SEC opponents will be. Hopefully, it won't be Georgia and Tennessee. Hopefully, they'll just get one tough one out of the two, right? And Alabama, hopefully, will get one tough one at least also. But, again, hope everybody enjoyed the show today. And we'll see you next week. Again, go to the website. Be sure to pre-order your preview issue with all the high schools in it, all the colleges, all the recruiting. And it'll be ready the early September, lafootballmagazine.com. We'll see you Friday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brackeen.